Exactly.
All right. Welcome to a very special edition of the Halloween Pod, and of course, extension of the hit TV show, the Halloween Horror, which you can see on Tubi, Roku, Plex, Kings of Horror, and YouTube. I'm Sam, and I'm here with Ian, of course. How you doing,
Hey,
Ian?
what's going on, Sam? It's good to be here. How are you?
I'm glad to be talking about this very fantastic special episode. We're actually talking about our friends over at Creator VC who have actually been pumping out amazing documentaries like the 80 Horrors series, Aliens Expanded in Terabytes, which are even references sometimes to the Halloween Horror Hour. They're actually back with their 90s version of In Search of Darkness, and we got a sneak peek of years 95 through 99, which is going to be available for order this Friday, January 16th. Most horror fans say the 70s and 80s peak, which is probably why they started with the documentary there, and that the 90s were decidedly mid overall. I'm pretty biased. I'm a 90s kid. I love the 90s, and I love 90s horror. What about you, Ian? Okay.
Fantastic. Excellent.
All right, starting recording here. This is take one of our podcast for the 90s documentary. Sound effect for breaking news. Welcome to a special edition of the Halloween Horror Pod, an extension of the hit TV show, the Halloween Horror Hour. Blah, blah, blah. Take two. Sound effect for breaking news. Welcome to a special edition of the Halloween Horror Pod, an extension of the hit TV show, the Halloween Horror Hour, which you can see on Tubi, Roku, Plex, Kings of Horror, and YouTube. I'm Sam, and I, of course, am here with Ian.
Hey, what's up, Sam? How are you?
I'm doing great. I know we have a very special treat for our audience today, right? So that's our friends at Creator VC who have been pumping out amazing documentaries like the 80s horror series, Journey into Darkness, Aliens Expanded, and Terabytes, which even references the Halloween Horror Hour, is back with their 90s version of Journey into Darkness. And we got a sneak peek of years 95 through 99, which is actually available for order this Friday the 16th. I'm really excited for this as I was as the 80s doc. Most horror fans say the 70s and 80s were peak. I'm a kid of the 90s. I'm pretty biased about it. They say it was pretty mid overall. So, what do you got to say about that, Ian? What do we got to say about the documentary?
Okay, so overall, like, the 80s and 70s are fantastic. They're integral to creating everything that we know and love about the horror genre. You have aliens, you have Alien, you have Halloween, you have the slasher boom, all of that kind of stuff. Lots of practical effects and everything. But honestly, like, you and I like, I was born in 86, you were born in the
Mm-hmm.
90s. I won't call out your actual age.
Hey, early 90s, early 90s, okay.
Early 90s. And so being a Xennial and you're a millennial, like, the 90s were our time. And so
Absolutely.
Scream was the first rated R movie I saw in theaters. I may be a huge Stephen King
At what age?
I
At what
10
age?
10 years old. 10 years old. Yeah, my mom
There
took
you
me
go.
to see
There you
it.
go.
But, like, even more formative than that, like, when I was 3 and 4 years old, the first, like, actual fear that I took to my nightmares every single night was seeing Tim Curry, not even, like, the full movie, because, like, the
Mm-hmm.
miniseries of It came out in 1991,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't watch it until 1992 because my mom was a single mom and she wanted to watch horror movies. So I ended up watching the 2-night special edition of the It miniseries. But even before that, I just remember seeing the commercials play on TV all the time. And if it wasn't
Yeah.
for being terrified of the bathroom, terrified of clowns, terrified of this cosmic entity that was coming to kill these awesome children that I related to on the television, the Halloween Horror Hour wouldn't exist. Like, it
That's
was
very, very true.
those 90s periods where we were all, like, glued to the TV, and it went to the Langoliers, it went to the Stand, some of these VHSs you're seeing on screen if you're watching the video version of this, because I still own this stuff because, I'm just trauma bonded to it at this point. But, like,
He has stacks in his garage and his bedroom, folks.
yeah, yeah,
And of course, the tube TV in the garage too. You got to
yeah.
watch them
Oh
classic.
yeah, yeah. I've got a CRT candy in every room of the house. It's fine. I don't have a problem.
Mhm.
I have found the solution. It's
There
fine.
you go. There you go.
Uh, but like R.L. Stein taught me how to read. Stephen King taught me how to appreciate reading. Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, X-Files, and then Scream came out in 1996. I was 10 years old. I went to the theater, and I agreed with Randy. Randy was the guy. Like, he was the one who was in the know. He knew that you don't have sex, you don't drink, you never say "I'll be back." I mean, Jamie Kennedy turned out to be a shit guy, and honestly, that's my only complaint about this documentary is that they kind of went soft on the Weinsteins and Jamie Kennedy. Uh, but otherwise,
We'll
like,
get into that later.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to dive super far into that, but that might be one little critique I have about the documentary. But man, it was so good to revisit all of these things and see friends. Like, we have actual relationships with folks like Doug Bradley,
Oh,
Pinhead from
Atomic
Hellraiser.
Crypticon.
Yeah, we had a very long conversation with him. He gave me all of his thoughts about the new Hellraiser movie. We kind of disagreed on that. He gave me all of his thoughts about
True.
Midsummer. We disagreed about that.
He's a student of film. I remember him being very, very learned in his own craft. It's pretty
Yes,
awesome.
yes. He knew what he liked, and I know what I like, and but we had such a great time having that conversation together, even though we disagreed about some of the things we enjoy about
Fair.
things. But also in this documentary, an even better friend, Andrew Divoff, Wishmaster
Hmm.
himself, who
Hmm.
has a Halloween Horror Hour T-shirt.
It's
He's out
true.
there. He's out there, man. We love Divoff. He is he's a good friend of the show. He was really nice to us, and we suggested where he should go to dinner, and we just kind of really hit it off. So it was really good to see him on camera in this, and they always have such
Agreed.
great commentators on all of these films. Was there a commentator that really stood out to you?
I really like Divoff myself.
Yep.
Let's see. There, it was interesting seeing Jamie Kennedy on there for sure. He had a
Yeah.
lot to say. I mean, I would say overall these commentators are very learned in what they talk about. They very much know exactly the frontward, backward, and everything of every story that they've been a part of.
Oh, I just lost
One
you.
of my favorite childhood. Oh, you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out, but you might have been recording on your end, so that's probably okay.
Yeah, but you've been cutting out on my end. I don't know. It's
Okay.
weird.
Okay. Well, between the two of us, we're probably gonna be all right.
All right,
But let's
but
go
I'll go
back.
back to it.
Yeah. Go back
And
to right
I'll
after
just
you
go.
were talking about Divoff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say. I'll go back to even tremors, but just a second here. Is it Michael Gross who plays? Who is like interviewed? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who plays
Yes.
Bert Gummer?
Yep. Yep. It's Bert.
Okay. Okay, I'll start there. Three. Yeah, and even Tremors. I mean, that was a childhood favorite of mine. Not necessarily because my family had a love for it or I'd seen it in theaters. However, I did see it sometimes at 1 or 2 a.m. playing on those late night cable channels that a middle schooler has nothing better to do in the middle of summertime. Who was it? Michael Gross, who was talking about his character Burt Gummer,
Definitely.
going through just all the ups and downs of the different movies. And these people really care about their craft, right? And especially when they find a character, and something that I found time and time again with these folks we were seeing on screen is when they find a character, especially in horror, wow, are they excited. I mean, they especially love the fact that directors and writers keep giving them more and more to work with, and that they get to develop the characters more and more. I really found that as an awesome insight, like during the documentary, because every single person had studied their own character and had put a lot of their own emotional life into it. So it was a cool overall to get the ins and outs for each really, really important movie throughout these years.
Yeah. So, I mean, what are some of your favorite movies from this period that like this documentary spans so many things from like the rise of the Asian horror, or what we called at the time J horror, but really encompassed a lot of Korean and Japanese horror at the time. Ring, Ju-on, those kinds of things. The Mummy with Brendan Fraser is in this period. We've
Oh, the
got
Mummy.
we've got the Blair
That was one
Witch.
that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was one that we that like obviously has a cult following now, but at the time, people, if you weren't around for it when the Mummy dropped, it was like this big happening. They were using, different ways of shooting a movie in CGI, and they were going back to these, pyramid temples after Indiana Jones hadn't really been, doing anything too crazy for too long. And the Mummy was like a different way of going back to the desert and going back to all these really interesting different themes than some of the more pop culture versions of it would take.
yeah. And Brendan Fraser was massive, and not in the way he was
Of
massive in The
course.
Whale. Like, but
Sure,
no,
sure,
yeah,
sure.
har har har. But no, he was so big at the time. George of the Jungle, The Mummy, like he was an action star, and it was really this kind of like late '90s turning period from like we're over the Arnold Schwarzenegger, we're over the Dolph Lundgren. We want Nick Cage and Brendan Fraser to be our everyday man action star. And they really had like a boom at this time. But Brendan Fraser being able to be in a horror movie that was also an action adventure movie that also had a lot of comedy just showed the range that he had as an actor. It also caused him some back issues, which is why he had to step away from acting for a while. So
Wow, I don't think I knew that one until
yeah,
we watched about it.
yeah. Brendan Fraser had some chronic back pain, and that is why he had to take a step back because he started putting on weight, and people didn't see him as the action star anymore. But the world has changed, and now he's back, and now he is in a movie about playing an actor in Japan where he acts as a fake the rent a family thing. Have you heard of this in Japan? You can
Mm.
rent a family.
Oh, I have heard about this. Yes,
Right,
yes.
this is a real life thing, but he's in a movie where he is an American person that you can rent to bring into your family, and so he plays the father of a daughter in the movie as the actor. The mom rents him to be the dad, and that actually dovetails nicely into the movie Audition, which is a horror movie that's covered in this Journey into Darkness documentary. Have you ever seen Audition, the Takashi
I
Miike film?
no, I never did.
Okay. This is an intense one. Audition is a film where older gentleman, he's back on the dating scene, and one of his friends decides to like set up an audition these women, telling them that there's
Mhm.
there's a role for a film that they're auditioning for, but really it's like they're deciding who he's going to date.
Sure.
And yeah, man, this is one of the most intense films. I don't know if I want to spoil it for you. Um,
Please don't, because I mean, a lot of these, that actually brings up a good point. A lot of these were horror movies that I wasn't watching necessarily as a kid. I saw some of the
yeah,
hits. I mean, like one of my favorites that I saw later on in life is Seven from that time. I guess right at
man,
the precipice of '95, right?
yeah,
And some of the other ones that I saw that I know are classics, like from Dust Till Dawn.
yep.
That was just one that while we were watching together, I was just like, I didn't even know that. I mean, like I knew what Dust Till Dawn was about, and of course, the
Yeah.
modern version being Sinners that I have
Well,
seen.
okay. I'm
Um,
just gonna cut in there because I am sick and tired of people making this equation. From Dusk Till Dawn and Sinners are two very different movies,
completely different movies,
and I love.
especially after seeing
Yeah,
after watching that documentary, obviously.
yeah, and I
Um,
love both of those films, but they are entirely different. And
of
honestly,
course.
Sinners has made it into the only like there's only three musicals that I enjoy, and Sinners is one of them. And people may not even be hip to this yet, but Sinners is a musical, and Sinners is up there with Nightmare Before Christmas and The Wicker Man for me is the only musicals I can enjoy. So,
Hey, I'm not mad at you for those being your musicals. I am just a little sad you didn't include some other ones, but we'll let you slide this time. We'll let
yeah,
you slide.
yeah, yeah. But yes,
Some of your favorite like early 90s that they went through? Like that a lot of that
oh
J
my
horror
gosh. Yeah.
important. The movie, obviously between The Grudge and The Ring, the two directors, I'm blanking on the name of the movie that they
Don't
worked on
Look
before
Up. This
those.
is actually a film I haven't seen called Don't Look Up, and it was the
Oh,
directors
you gotta watch it.
of
It looks
Ring
so good.
and Ju-on. Yeah, and
It
I
hit a little close to home, huh? Hit a
yeah.
little close to home.
Yeah, it's about
If you folks don't know,
indie
yeah, go ahead.
filmmakers. It's about indie filmmakers making a film, and like weird stuff starts to happen, and being indie filmmakers, weird shit happens all the time. What were you gonna add to that?
Oh, just exactly that. And I mean, we could probably spend a whole podcast, and probably will spend a whole episode just talking about the weird things that have happened on set. Everything from what feels like hauntedness all the way to and oddly having someone living in the attic of the house we were shooting at without realizing that they were supposed to be quiet on set and playing some rock music, and everything in between. So, well, I'm sure we'll spend some time, but especially that movie, especially not having seen it, and those two really iconic directors coming together before their big hits to make something that was so important to the rest of Japanese horror, that really influenced so much of their own work later on down the road. And I'm like, okay, I gotta watch this. Hits too close to home. We've had too many of these moments where something that we're filming is just a little bit extra scary because of something we didn't plan for, or funny things that also happen on set.
Yeah, and the term J horror is the term that's used. Japanese,
Hmm.
Asian horror, Korean horror, the like horror had become so postmodern at the time because of Scream, and even before
Hmm.
that because of Jason Lives in 1986, which is my favorite Friday the 13th movie, and then Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Everything had become so meta, and everything was so self-aware and referential,
Hmm. Hmm.
and we wanted something different. And I think the two things that really reminded us that horror could be scary were the influx of the Asian horror remakes, like The Ring and The Grudge, or just
Hmm.
getting our hands on those films in the first place. A little bit later, Dark Water and so on. But then also The Sixth Sense. Man, that just like. Do
I
you
mean, it
remember
was
watching The
ubiquitous.
Sixth Sense for the first time and like
Yeah.
how gut wrenching that twist was?
And I mean, I didn't watch it right when it came out, specifically because I was so young, and I probably would have gone over my head anyway. But when I did a few years later, when I actually, I think it was in 2001 when I was like 10, that I finally actually like watched it, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is weird, and what the heck, and oh my God, the whole time, the
Yeah.
whole fucking time.
Like people talk a lot about elevated horror or like
Hmm.
horror like being a metaphor for our grief and our trauma, like really popping up around, Under the Skin, A24 stuff, The Witch, Under the Skin, and then especially Hereditary, Midsummer, and like everything that tried to copy that format afterwards. But
Well, and a lot of people who weren't even into horror at the time, they saw The Sixth Sense, right? Like it was
yeah,
it was kind of ubiquitous with movie culture in '99, right? And people were just like, "Wait, that's the twist," and they kind of don't even realize,
well, and the documentary
right?
goes
When you really think about it.
Yeah, the doc goes into this really well about how, like, if you
Hmm.
went into Blockbuster on a Friday night, there was, like, you remember the walls where they had, like, the front-facing VHSs, not even, like, the
Hmm.
side-facing where they were trying to pack everything in. It was,
Hmm.
like, where you actually got to see the cover and it was all the new releases. They would have,
Oh
like,
yeah,
200 copies of The Sixth Sense and be like,
like an
see this
entire
movie.
side of
Yeah, yeah, see this movie before it gets spoiled. Like, make sure you watch this movie before someone tells you the ending. And they
which
had
blockbuster was yours? Were the one down
man,
like on Edmonds Way?
honestly, the only Blockbuster I went to was the one on 44th and 220th, which used to be the
Okay, okay,
Albertsons, but now it's the Safeway
yeah.
because they were next door to the Little Caesars. But I was honestly more of a Hollywood Video guy.
Hey,
They have
Hollywood
better
Video
they
was
have
just
better
as
video
good.
game selection.
This is also true. You could rent PS2s. Okay, I digress. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I mean, you could do that
This
from
was the
Blockbuster
90s,
too,
baby.
but I
It
went to
wasn't the
Hollywood
same.
Video because they just had more access to that kind of stuff. But man, I do
Yeah.
have this distinct memory of my brother and I
Hmm.
going into Blockbuster Video, and we were going to rent. I don't even remember what we rented that night, but we were waiting for our Little Caesar pizzas because they weren't even hot and ready yet. They were just good pizza. And we went in there and we replaced. We went into a
Good
section
pizza.
like a Christmas section, and they had Jack Frost '98, the Michael Keaton movie, and Jack Frost '97, the horror movie, and we just because they used to leave the tapes in the boxes, and we just swapped them. So people would go to rent the Michael Keaton like feel good. Your dad's a
Yeah,
jerk, but
I mean,
he's
I've
gonna get
seen
better.
the Keaton one plenty of times as a
Yeah,
kid.
no, no. The '97 one is Shannon Elizabeth from American Pie's first movie, and
Hmm.
yeah, no, that's not a good scene where she has sex with a snowman. Like,
It's a pretty good prank. A good
it's
prank that you couldn't do nowadays. The closest thing
no,
is like a wrecking ball, right? Like
no, but I
that's
was
about
like 9 years old, so yeah,
it.
and we had they had physical tapes in the boxes. They didn't like for new releases. It was a little
That
bit,
I will say is they
yeah.
didn't cover. Yeah. Oh, sorry, cut
No,
off. I didn't mean to talk over you for a
no, you're
second.
good. You're good.
One thing that they did do is I like that they were going over like a lot of the sequels and kind of like what led up to good or bad sequels,
Mm-hmm.
or third or fourth or fifth or sixth movies, and then sometimes you kind of hit gold with the fourth or fifth movie,
Honestly,
almost like a
yeah,
TV show.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
You have
a
any?
lot
Do
of
you have any
my
favorite
favorite franchise.
sequels?
Yeah, a lot of my favorite franchise movies are the fourth, fifth, sixth movies. Um,
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of '90s ones where that's true, because I think it's more the '80s ones. But like Aliens, Terminator 2, those are better
Of
sequels
course.
than the original movie. Well, I've grown to like Alien more than Aliens, but I love it almost just as much. Especially in like the Friday the 13th series or Nightmare on Elm Street. But when it does come to the 90s films, Scream 2 is actually like if Scream didn't exist, I think Scream 2 would
Hmm.
stand on its own, and it's an
Really?
absolutely amazing movie. Um, Hellraiser Bloodlines is not my favorite movie in the series, but I do like the swing it took, and I know a lot of people like Hellraiser 3 where the guy like shoots CDs out of his face.
Oh, yeah, that's an
Yeah.
awesome scene.
Yeah.
Can't-
Oh, Extra 3 is better than Extra or Extra 2. And yeah. No, there's you know the 90s also had Leprechaun and oh, okay, here's really the
Oh,
one.
I've never seen Leprechaun. I gotta see it.
Oh my gosh, the Leprechaun movies are a lot of fun. One day we will do that. Future podcast episode.
Yup.
um,
March episode.
yeah, yeah. But okay, so Chucky is my favorite slasher series,
Yes. How
and
have we
it
not
really
talked about it?
yeah, and Child's Play started in '88, and so
Hmm.
most of those movies came out in the '90s. But the really like so '93, Child's Play 3 came out, and it was kind of rushed. Child's Play 2 was a huge success, so like they're like, okay, you have a year, pump out this next movie. And Don Mancini, who has been the like creative director for everything on the Child's Play series, Chucky, besides that terrible remake that Warner Brothers or whatever did with Mark
Oh, the
Hamill. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, that's yeah. We
Yeah,
don't talk.
we don't
That's
talk
not a
about
Child Play
we don't talk
movie.
about
It would
WB.
probably be a fine movie if they had not tried to steal the branding of Child's Play. Anyway, different topic. Um, but in the '90s, Bride of Chucky came out, and Bride of Chucky is what pivoted that series from being just the straight slasher to being the queer iconography, like just like the epitome of horror is gay. and and fuck you if you think otherwise. And I
Hmm.
fucking love that movie so much. Jennifer Tilly, it's been said before, it'll be said again. She is the halfway point between Elvira and Dolly Parton. Um,
Hmm.
and she is absolutely fantastic as Tiffany. And the fact that they went through all of those movies and everything has stayed canon the entire time. And even to this day, like they had three series of a TV show that was so successful on Hulu that it got canceled because they're going to make another movie because Chucky has to become a kaiju that flies around in space now because he's already killed the president. And like Bride of Chucky is just it has John Waters in it, it has Jennifer Tilly in it, it has Rob Zombie on the soundtrack. It is the most trashy 90s thing possible, and I absolutely love that movie. And I saw that movie in theaters, so,
Oh wow.
yeah.
You, actually, I was gonna at some point talk to you about this and ask you about this. So this brings up kind of the next step. You said you saw that in theaters.
Yeah.
You have so many that you saw in theaters. I have so many that I never saw in theaters and only saw later as an adult. Do you have any classic 90s horror movies, or maybe not even classic, ones that you just really love and appreciate that you only saw later in life, like in, let's say, the aughts or teens or later?
Yeah, yeah, no, things I came back around on, like Wishmaster I didn't see until later because it was kind of
Okay.
underground.
Okay.
Um, uh, Nightbreed, I think, is 92. I don't think that's still the 80s. That's another Clive Barker
Hmm.
movie. That was not until later in life. Um, yeah, but well, I was seeing a lot of movies in theaters because that's what we did as kids. I remember going to
Yeah.
see Mortal
Fair.
Kombat in the theaters. I remember
Okay.
going to see like Deep Blue Sea. I remember going to see Jurassic Park. I remember seeing Batman and Batman Returns and the three Ninja Turtles movies. Like it's just what we
This is true.
did. Like
I saw
because there
I saw
wasn't
all
anything
those and
else.
I
Yeah.
this is true. I mean, I saw all those and I just didn't see any of the horror stuff because my parents were scared. But I
Uh,
saw like seven later on in life, and that's like one that really stuck with me, especially because it's like early on in this block of 95 to 99. Like I mentioned,
I
Sixth
mean,
Sense, I guess that was only a
seven
couple
was
years after.
definitely a video home rental for me. Like I didn't see that in theaters. I did have really intense nightmares until I was like 10 years old, and maybe even after. But like, I wanted to go see all the horror movies. I was there for Blair Witch. I thought it was real. I thought Blair
Yeah,
Witch
I
was
mean,
real,
I
just like
would
Mike
only
Flanagan
imagine
in
if
the
you
doc.
saw it
Yeah.
if you saw it in theaters. Yeah, exactly. It's like just even hearing them talk about it is just like, oh yeah, they felt like this because especially because it doesn't let on to anything. I mean, Paranormal Activity kind of tried to do the same thing, but at that point, the glass is broken.
Yeah.
But Blair Witch did such a good job, especially with their marketing, just to make it feel so real.
Yep.
And even at the end, even after the whole reason you go to see it in theaters is to see if it's even real, and you're still left wondering. It was such a perfect, like, epitome of 90s horror that just left it lingering on your soul even after you left the theater.
Yeah, man. That was such a cultural experience. Like it was such an
Hmm.
amazing way to end the 90s. But there's also some other big things. Like I will talk about like my favorite theater experiences like outside of Blair
Hmm.
Witch, outside of Scream, like Blade. Dude, we can't talk about 90s horror without talking about Blade, especially with Doomsday coming
Absolutely.
out this year. Like Blade
Oh, yes.
Blade is the reason we have comic books on screen.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, like it's undeniable. Like it's also the reason the Matrix existed. Like everything about Blade influenced the Matrix, influenced Underworld, influenced Iron Man, influenced Spider-Man, influenced all of this shit. And now we get to see like the setup
I
for
think I lost
Secret
you.
Wars coming out, man. And like Secret
Uh-huh.
Wars is one of my favorite comic book lines, and we're gonna get a Clayface horror story this coming September. Have you heard about this? The Clayface movie?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So I'm not even a huge DC Comics fan, but like we're getting a DC Comics horror movie directed by the James Gunn team around DC right now, And so it's based on Clayface One Bad Day, where Clayface, his power is he can like absorb people and take their identity, right? He's
Hmm.
one of the Batman villains. And so he moves to LA and he's trying to get all these acting jobs and he starts absorbing people's identities, but you don't know it's a Batman story until the very end because it follows Clayface the whole time. And that comes out on 9/11 of this year. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I'm very excited for that, and we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for Blade. And I really appreciate that we're going back to this kind of like, because I'm an avid comic book reader. I like,
Of course. Yeah.
and I don't expect. I'm not one of those people that expects a ton from my comic book movies because I read a lot of comics and I don't expect a lot from my comics. Um, like
I
ninety
guess.
percent
I guess. I mean,
ninety
there
percent of the
there are
comics
some.
in a superhero story are filler. Like if
Okay.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
really
And
good stuff, but like
superhero.
yeah,
And
if you're
superhero
reading
specific. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're reading Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Moon Knight, like most of the time
Uh,
it's just filler connecting you. Like there might be a little like thing that links to it, but like I don't know. Have you ever
I'm an
watched
X-Man kind of
Adventure
guy.
Time or One Piece or whatever? Like there's like 10,000 episodes before like all of the little pieces that like matter come
Actually,
together to like
like Phil.
do
Yeah.
anything. And so I don't like I know they spend tons of money on these movies. People have to make money on these movies. They're paying way too much for these movies to be made. But like I don't have huge expectations for them, but Secret
Hmm.
Wars I have a ton of expectations for. And
I'm
it, it
excited for that.
it feels like we're getting a little bit of lead up to that, and we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for Wesley Snipes' Blade. If it,
Wesley motherfucking Snipes.
yeah, motherfucker's always trying to be ice skating uphill. But like that story is just so great because like Blade is introduced in issue 16 of the Tomb of Dracula and eventually becomes an enemy of Werewolf at Night, who
Hmm.
in issue 32 of Werewolf at Night is the introduction of Moon Knight, who is my favorite superhero.
Which
Yeah.
is your for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I will say, the 90s for me were mainly X-Men and Spider-Man.
Yep.
So when, Sam Raimi came out with his movies, Over the Moon,
Yeah.
um,
And you can't bring up Sam Raimi without bringing up his 90s movies like Darkman and
this is true.
his brother's amazing performance in the serial killer movie Skinner, which was a more intense version of Silence of the Lambs, also based off like, your Ed Geins and your Jeffrey Dahmer. So like
Mhm.
Spider-Man has his ties all the way back into those horror creators, and yeah, I mean, so anyway, this is an excellent doc. I feel like a lot of people should be checking this documentary out. It brought up a lot of
Yeah,
emotions for both of us. It was really fun to
very much
reminisce
so.
about these kinds of things. I hope
We'll
every
see a lot of them for the first time for myself, that's
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, no, a big watch list has been created for you, and
Oh,
it was nice to see some of our friends on screen. Hey, at 80s Horror Doc, invite us next time. We got a
ooh,
lot to say.
please. Yeah.
But please check out their sale starting this Friday, January 16th. You'll be able to pick up this documentary in digital and physical form. I highly recommend their physical forms. I
Me
got the
too.
physical form of the 80s Journey into Darkness, Alien is
Hmm.
Expanded, and Terabytes. They are all on my movie shelf downstairs, but they also came with awesome stickers, posters, and keychains. Just really appreciate what these folks are doing, and I hope they continue to do it because
Me
it is a
too.
really fun time to just be in conversation with these movies. And I know a lot of people just put because these are long documentaries, and they're
Totally. Yeah,
yeah
it took us a couple days to get through that.
yeah just 95 through 99, over 6 hours of content. And if you go back and watch their 80s documentary, that's what it's like 3 episodes that are all over 4 hours, and
Hmm. Hmm.
like the video game one is 5 episodes that are all over an hour long. These are
My gosh.
they're so much fun. They're so in depth. They have great voices like John Carpenter, Andrea Subissati from Rue Morgue on there. Their Aliens one has Sigourney Weaver and John Cameron in it. Like They go straight to
Well,
the source. Like,
yeah, they really do. That was
yeah.
like I would say like one of my favorite parts about each and every one of the movies that I watched any kind of information about was just you heard from the people who are actually there. You hear from the people who loved it more than you probably,
Yeah.
more than whoever's watching most of the time, because these people, as any filmmaker listening to this knows or watching the you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and it's more than just film for you. It's a part of who you are, and I'm sure for a lot of these creators and actors, like it was a big part of their lives for multiple years a lot of the times. So they're really excited to talk about it, and you hear straight from their experiences. Really, really amazing documentary books. We look forward to a lot more.
Yeah, and we didn't even we're not trying to cover every movie that was covered in the doc because it was
No,
covered in the doc. So go watch the doc.
exactly. Go watch the documentary.
Yeah. But in the meantime, you can support the Halloween Horror Pod by checking out our Patreon over at patreon.com/. I think there's like a weird C in there, but like /Halloween Horror Hour. If you just go on Patreon and look for the Halloween Horror Hour, I'm sure you'll find us there. We provide watch alongs on our exclusive Discord, where you also get access to all the Graveyard Gang cast and crew. And then you can also check out our, merchandise stuff that we have over there. We're doing most of our merch on Patreon now. Um, Check us out
And
on
then you can
social
also,
media at
yeah,
Halloween
check
Horror
us
Hour.
out.
Yeah, Instagram at Halloween on Blue
YouTube.
Sky.
A
Yeah.
lot of our episodes are up on YouTube, and especially, we're going to post most of our announcements coming up on Blue Sky and Instagram. That's also going to be like a central location where you can find a lot of our other collaborators that we work with, a lot of people who come onto this podcast. So please go follow, and please check out our Patreon for exclusive content, watch-alongs, and much more from us later on down the road.
Yeah. And one last thing. This is a podcast, so please, for the sake of Discount Dracula, make sure you are rating and reviewing the show. Give us those 5 stars. If you're going to give us anything less than 5 stars, don't bother. But hop in that review section and just write, nice. Yeah, that's all it takes. Like, yo. And we'll give you a thumbs up. I mean, like, pictures of us are out there. If you want a picture of us giving you a thumbs up, it's on Instagram. Just download it and tell your friends we gave it to you personally.
Thanks for listening, folks. We'll talk to you very soon.
Later.